friends and neighbors. I am your host, Sandra O'Neill, and today we're going to be talking about just the modern conveniences of life. Sometimes they're really wonderful, they're great, but other times we really have to take a deeper look as to the accessibility of things that can cost our bodies. For example, being sedentary in life, or our processed foods, or just our lifestyles in general. But today I have a guest with us by the name of Chris Wark, who's going to talk to us a little bit more in depth about those subjects. He was diagnosed with cancer in 2003, which at that point really catapulted this discussion that we're going to have. So will you help me welcome Chris Wark to the set. Hey, Chris.
Hi, Sandra.
I'm over here just struggling with my words, but I'm so happy you're here. You know what? It's just real life, right?
Yep.
But I'm so thankful that you're here. And first of all, congratulations.
Hey, no one's more thankful that I'm here than me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know a lot of other people that are and are thankful for what you have. You're kind of tilling ahead to kind of show us as a community what can cause cancer, right? So tell us your story. Tell us your story about 2003.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed when I was 26.
Okay.
And it was a big shock, obviously,
Yeah.
devastating news. I had never had health problems before. And I'd started developing abdominal pain,
Yeah.
and ignored it for the better part of a year, and thinking like it would probably, whatever it was, would get better, but it just progressively got worse. And so the fall of 2003, started going to the doctor to try to figure it out. Took a while, but a couple days before Christmas, I had a colonoscopy, and they told me, you've got colon cancer.
And it was stage 3C.
At that time, they weren't sure what the stage was. They were hoping it was stage 2. And they said, look, we got to get you into surgery right away to get this thing out of you before it spreads and kills you. So like a lot of cancer patients, I was completely clueless about the disease. And I was just like, okay, well, whatever the doctor says, I'm going to do. So I was able to postpone the surgery about a week because, I mean, who wants to be in the hospital on Christmas?
Right. Yeah.
So we postponed it. I went in on December 30th. They took out the tumor and realized it had spread to lymph nodes. They took out all the lymph nodes that appeared to be cancerous. And when I woke up, they said, yeah, it's worse than we thought. You're stage 3C, which is one click away from stage 4. So typically it spreads to the liver. So they told me the next step for me was 9 to 12 months of chemotherapy. And I just accepted, like, okay, this is my life.
Yeah.
But a couple things happened in the hospital that started me thinking a little differently. The first thing that happened was the first meal that they served me was a sloppy Joe.
Oh, wow.
And I remember just looking at it going like, this is so gross.
Yeah.
Like, why are they serving this horrible food to sick people, to cancer patients? A few days later, when they told me I could go home, my surgeon came in to check on me, and I said, hey, is there any food I need to avoid? Because they had just cut me open, took out a section of my large intestine, sewed it back together.
Right.
Right? And everything you eat is going to pass through that area. So I didn't want to eat the wrong thing and screw it up. And he said, no, just don't lift anything heavier than a beer. So I'm like, huh. Apparently, the medical industry has no interest in nutrition. And that didn't sit right with me. Right? I thought, like, something's wrong here.
Yep.
So I go home, and I'm recovering from surgery and thinking about chemotherapy, and it didn't feel right to me. And I didn't know what else to do. I just didn't have a peace about it.
Right.
And so my wife and I prayed, and I was like, God, if there's another way besides chemotherapy, please show me. And a couple days later, I got a book that was sent to me from a friend of my dad's who lived in Alaska. And this book was written by another guy who had healed his colon cancer with a radical change of his diet and life. And I had this huge wake-up call, like this light bulb, which was, the way you're living is killing you. I realized I had a part to play in my disease. And we know now that most of the diseases that we suffer from, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, are diet and lifestyle diseases. They're not bad luck. They're not genetic. They're caused by our choices. Now, we don't know any better. We think we're healthy,
Yeah.
right? But we live in an environment that has a lot of toxic pollution. We're eating a diet that's totally unnatural and
Right.
processed
Yes.
and fast.
Yes,
Right?
and that's the conveniences of life, right? You're in the modern world and you're thinking, well, I'm going to go from, I'm going to walk from here to my car's going to take me here, then I'm going to walk there. That's a lifestyle. But I'm walking around the campus, but that's not really exercise, right? And then you get home, you're so exhausted, I'm just going to stick something in here, zap it up, and I'm done. And you're making these choices that
Lead to disease.
Yeah.
And so fast food, processed food, and a diet that's really high in meat and dairy lead to disease. And so I started reading and researching and went on this sort of mad quest to figure out what I could do to help myself. Because I didn't want to be a victim.
Right.
I wanted to change my life. And it was good news to me when I realized, oh, there's so much I can do to help myself heal. I want to do all of these things.
Right.
So overnight, I converted to a diet that was 100% plant-based, all fruits and vegetables, 100% raw.
And then how did you go about it?
Well, it was pretty easy. I just went to the grocery
You're
store, went to the produce department, and loaded the cart up full of fruits and vegetables, right? It was just like, this is the only part of the grocery store I'm shopping in. And all organic, of course. And I bought a juicer, started juicing carrots and other veggies, beets, celery, and I just had this excitement about overdosing on nutrition, right? And I knew I was sick, I knew I was vulnerable, I knew I had never taken care of myself, and I just thought, what would happen to my body if I just started pumping in all this good stuff that God made, right? Going back to the Garden of Eden, right? Just eating fruits and vegetables from the earth. And I just thought, this is perfect food for our body. Let me just get as much of it in as I can.
Right.
And so the great thing that I've learned in 15 years, spoiler, I didn't die.
Here you are. Yes.
I have learned that there's all this amazing nutritional science that's been published, reams and reams of studies, more than any person could ever read, hundreds of thousands of studies, on the anti-cancer compounds in fruits and vegetables. Anti-inflammatory compounds. There are compounds that block cancer from spreading, that block tumors from growing, that directly kill cancer cells in fruits and vegetables. It's amazing.
That is amazing. And that's a knowledge that's not out there. That's not just easy to pick up. Now, let's go back to that point of you're trying to decide between chemotherapy. I mean, that's a bold and passionate decision that you took. And I know that you're quick to mention about the medical industry. You're not here to advocate what you chose on everyone. Is that correct? Did I read that correctly?
The way I look at it is like this. Conventional cancer treatment, surgery, chemo, and radiation, have some benefit. It depends on the type and stage of cancer. So for late stage, the benefit is very low, right? For early stage, it can be much better. For me, at a later stage, stage 3C, I didn't feel good about it, so I made a decision not to do chemotherapy. And I kind of put it on the back burner because I realized I'm sick. I don't want to get sicker. I want to try to build my body up, repair my body, heal my body. So I made a choice to do that. But what I encourage people to do is not to just say no to treatment, but to educate themselves before they say yes.
Okay.
To understand exactly what they're getting into, what the probability of the treatment actually curing them is, and be fully informed and educated and not just rushed into a treatment out of fear.
Right.
Because fear-based decisions are almost always the wrong one, right?
Yes.
We need to make faith-based decisions, fact-based decisions.
Yes, yes.
And so I encourage people to do what I did in the sense that you need to radically change your diet.
Yes.
You need to take control of your health and stop doing the things that may be poisoning you, polluting your body, killing you, right? And then make a wise decision about what medical treatments you do as well.
I think that's powerful. And, it is when you hit the nail on the head when you make a decision based out of fear. Fear, right? It's false evidence that appears
Appearing real. Right? Yeah.
I mean, it's powerful. And one of my main things is I want to dive into, once you start learning, right, of did you see which fruits worked better, or did you, just how your body started responding to the life-giving food that you were putting in, and how quickly did you see your body start reacting to that?
I started feeling good really fast.
Okay.
Now, the first few days, when you go from eating meat and dairy every day, fast food, junk food every day, to eating only fruits and vegetables, the first few days you're going to feel a little weird, right? Because you're going to have detoxification from junk, you're going to have withdrawal symptoms from all this stuff your body's accustomed to. But once you get over that little hump of feeling, strange, you start to feel really good. Wow. And so I had tons of energy. My mood was better, like happier, more energy, more excited about life. Like it's really hard to describe the feeling, but it was really a really good feeling. And I knew, like, deep down, I was like, I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I need to do.
And did you just listen to your body to say, like, today I'm going to have, I don't know, carrots, or today I'm going to, as a woman, I'm thinking, I need to plan my week, my meals.
I actually created a very simple system that I reproduced every single day. So I ate the same thing every day. Every day I was making juice in the morning, like a huge batch of fresh juice for the whole day. I was eating giant salads, big bowls full of vegetables for lunch and dinner. And then I would make fruit smoothies for a snack or maybe for breakfast. And it was just the same thing every day, every day, every day. So it became, and I talk about this in my book, it just became a very simple, reproducible plan, because I knew if I was constantly trying to figure out, like, oh, what am I going to eat for lunch? What am I going to eat for dinner?
Daunting.
Yeah, and eventually I would fail, right? I would run out of ideas or whatever. So it had to be sustainable and reproducible and simple.
Oh, I love that. Chris, and you did write a book called Chris Beats Cancer. And after this commercial break, we will be diving in a little bit more into the book and just discussing just what Chris found and the favor of the Lord, that because you made a faith-based decision, how he has blessed you, and he's blessing our community and others with it. So we will be back right after this break, and we will talk more to Chris Wark about his book, Chris Beats Cancer. Welcome back to Friends and Neighbors, and we are talking to Chris Wark about his book, Chris Beats Cancer, and it's been really inspiring to me, Chris. I was sharing with you that my husband and I are really feeling more and more conviction on having a healthy lifestyle in the way of not only less sedentary, but really intake of our food intake. I've been really wanting to dive into and get to know more about the plant-based food. So I'm ready to take notes. So let's talk about it. Talk about, you were talking about how your body started reacting. A newbie like me that has no idea, I mean, I love meat and potatoes, but I'm very thankful that I haven't been eating meat a lot now, but baby steps, I feel.
Baby steps.
You did it cold turkey.
I did.
But
well, and I had a huge motivation.
Yes,
It was,
yes.
for me, in my mind, it was live or die.
Yes.
But here's the thing that, just to keep it really simple, okay? Up to 90% of cancers are caused by really 3 factors: a poor diet, unhealthy lifestyle choices, and environmental pollution.
Yes.
So, and underlying all that is stress, which we'll touch on. But when you look around the world at the healthiest, longest living populations with the lowest rates of cancer, they eat a predominantly plant-based diet. So that means they're only eating animal food, meat and dairy, eggs, things like that, a few times a week to a few times a month.
Okay.
So it's about 80% less than we do in the United States.
Got it.
So that's sort of factor number 1. If you focus on eating whole plant foods, whole fruits and vegetables, unprocessed, you're doing great, right? That's a great thing. The second thing is lifestyle. So we're very sedentary because we have all these modern conveniences.
Yes.
So you have to make exercise a priority now. Our ancestors got a lot more exercise because most of them did physical labor.
Right.
We don't. We're working with our brains, right, and our fingers. So 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day of exercise, even if it's just brisk walking, it is huge. Flips genetic switches that are anti-cancer in your body. Wow. Just 20 to 30 minutes a day. So you just have to make it a priority in your schedule.
Yeah.
The third factor, environmental pollution, that's a tricky one.
Yes.
But when you're eating organic food, you are avoiding exposure to many, many toxic pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. So that's a good start.
Yes.
And then it's a good idea to look around your house and replace toxic cleaning products, commercial toxic body care products with organic, biodegradable, non-toxic brands. So these are simple things, right?
Yeah.
And these are things I did. And it's not complicated, and all those small changes add up to big results over time. So you can't expect to change one little thing and get a huge result, although that's what we all want, right? We all want the magic bullet, the quick fix, you know, the shortcut, the hack.
Right.
But the reality is it's the cumulative effort of all these little small shifts that make a big difference in your life. So that's what I did rather quickly. And so for anybody who has cancer and they're trying to survive or is serious about prevention, these are things you should do, right? This is like universal good advice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
1 out of every 2 men and 1 out of every 3 women are predicted to be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. So, I mean, it really is pretty serious. Like, if anyone isn't serious about prevention, they should be.
And if this is something that's happening and the statistics are there, why is it that the convenience and the education isn't so at the forefront as it should be?
Because there's no money in prevention. That's the problem, right? There's a lot of money in treatment, right? There's a lot of money in treating disease. There's no money in prevention.
Yeah.
And doctors aren't trained in prevention, they're trained in treating disease. So they're not trained in nutrition either. And so there are a number of MDs that are self-taught, right? They went to med school, but then after med school, they dove into the nutritional science literature and they learned much more about diet and lifestyle medicine. So that's exciting because we're seeing a shift.
Yes.
It's slow, but it's happening.
Yes. I think there is a shift happening too in that regard. One other question that I was going to ask you, as it comes to pesticides and toxins, as it falls into the actual the vegetable side of it, I know that we want to buy organic. How does that? Is there a lot in there, or how do you know?
It's not about the fact that there's a lot. It's about that it's a continual daily dose of toxins, right?
Gotcha.
And so every little toxic exposure adds up too, right? It's like death of 1,000 cuts.
Yep.
So if you're constantly poisoning your body little by little with all these little toxic factors, right? From skincare products to what you're putting in your mouth, to what maybe you're breathing in as you travel to work on the freeway, all that adds up. And so for me, and what I recommend people do is just take steps to reduce their toxic load.
Gotcha. Just take the small shifts, baby steps, right? Now, how does that fall into? Stress
is an underlying cause in a lot of disease because when we are stressed, we tend to self-medicate. And when we self-medicate, we do it with unhealthy food. We do it with being a workaholic, being a sex addict, being a drug addict, right? And being a food addict. And so many ways that we're coping with stresses in life are unhealthy ways. One of the biggest sources of stress for every cancer patient and most people that I talk to is bitterness and resentment toward people who've hurt them in the past.
Wow.
And so that's where forgiveness comes in.
Yes.
You have to forgive the people who've hurt you. And I made a decision to forgive every person who had ever hurt me in my life.
Wow.
And I realized I hadn't done it. I had not actively said, God, I forgive them. I'm letting it go.
Yes.
I'm giving it to you. They're all yours.
Yes.
You can deal with them. And I'm actually going to take Jesus' advice.
Yes.
Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you.
Yes.
And so God bless them.
Yes.
Right? And I do it by name. I don't just do like, I'm
like a general, right?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Right.
Like
specific.
So, when you get quiet and close your eyes and think about people who've hurt you, that's the time that you make a decision. So forgiveness is a decision. It's not a feeling.
Yes.
And your feelings change after you make the decision. It's so powerful. It's like one of the most overlooked and most powerful things you can do for your health is forgive.
Yes.
And be quick to forgive because people are always going to hurt you. They're going to let you down.
Right.
That's life.
Right.
But
and it's so hard. It's so hard to forgive, and then, but the Bible again says it's not for, it's for you.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Jesus' ministry. forgiveness is a part of the Lord's Prayer. He told his disciples to forgive 70 times 7, right?
Yes.
One of the last things Jesus said on the cross, dying, right, an innocent man, was, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So, I mean, he forgave the people who nailed him to a cross in that moment.
Right.
Which, like,
That's
boy, no one's
mind-blowing.
nailed me to a cross.
Yes.
Like, if he can do that, I can certainly forgive the guy that hurt my feelings a couple days ago. You know what I mean?
right,
It's like, why am
right.
I even holding on to that?
Right.
So, I mean, Jesus obviously is the example of how to live a perfect life, right?
Right.
But his example throughout his ministry of forgiveness is so powerful, and it's just a running theme, right? And of course, forgiveness of our sins because of Jesus,
Right.
is the ultimate mission accomplished for him.
That's powerful. I feel like that needs to sink in and root, because it's so much information, and not only that, but it's profound.
Yeah.
It's deep. It actually affects our well-being and our health.
Yeah.
Now, as you started walking these principles and living them out, detoxing around toxic environment, your plant-based diet and forgiveness, how did your life start showing that fruit? And what did the physicians and your wife and people around you
Well,
say?
most of the people around me thought I had lost my mind early on, but time changes things.
Yes.
And so over time, I was getting my blood work done. I was getting scans every 6 months, and I found an integrative oncologist to work with, and I found a naturopathic physician to work with. And so I built a little team, a little support system, and gradually over time, my blood work got better and better, my health improved, and then people started to kind of notice, like, hey, like, you're still alive. Like, what did you do? And then in 2010 is when I started ChrisBeatCancer.com, which was just a blog to share my story.
And 1 million, is that right? Over 1 million views later?
It gets millions of views a year now, 9 years later. Yeah, it really has just grown and taken over my life in a huge way. And I wrote the book Chris Beat Cancer last year, and it's just been so exciting to see. You know, it's really a God thing.
Yes.
He has amplified my work, like he's blessed the fruit of my labor. Right?
I love that, because you were connected. You went away from that fear-based to that faith-based. I am going to do this. It's a live or die moment, and God uses those moments to just catapult his people to say, let's educate. Now, if people want to reach you, if they want to contact you or find out more and really engage and say, I'm in, Chris, I'm in here. So how can they do that?
Well, ChrisBeatCancer.com,
Yep.
easy to find there. It's Chris Beat Cancer on social media. And then the book, Chris Beat Cancer, is on Amazon, and it's in almost every bookstore.
That's incredible. And if people, you also have a podcast, is that right?
I do.
So, and the podcast is how long for working people or busy people? Is it like a 5-minute, 3-minute?
They're longer, yeah, because I interview people who've healed naturally. I interview other doctors and holistic experts.
Love that.
So they're longer form interviews. But
So that's great. So if we want to dig deeper, get to know more, that's really an environment to just tune in. Chris, seriously, it has been a pleasure. I wish we had more time, because I want to ask you so many more questions. It's really a godsend for you to be here, because I think our community does need to learn that let's take those baby steps. Let's shift. Let's take those tiny little steps, and then you will see the fruits of your labor because of your faithful walk. It only, like, go to the grocery store and park yourself in what? The
Produce
the
aisle.
produce section, that's right. But Chris, seriously, it has been wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us. And again, tell us how people can connect with you.
ChrisBeatCancer.com.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to be logging in, and I think you've got your YouTube channel too, right?
Sure do.
And what can we find in your YouTube channel?
You'll find tons of videos from me. I put out videos every week on health and nutrition and healing, and interview people who've healed holistically, and doctors and experts. It's just if you want to change your life, if you want to be educated on health and wellness, like,
Yes.
this is for you. This is who those are the people I serve.
I love that. Thank you for your heart, Chris. Seriously, you are impacting the community and moving forward, saying, you all, if we focus on the principles of God, look, let's go back to the intentionality of our food and how we're supposed to take care of our temple, right? It's God's temple, right?
That's right.
Chris, thank you again for being with us.
Thank you, Sandra.
I appreciate it. And thank you for joining us. We will be right back after this commercial break and chat a little bit more. So take a little break, come back, and I'll see you shortly. Welcome back, friends and neighbors. I am so delighted that I've had this time to really sit down with Chris Wark and get an idea of what it really takes to get your body back to the beginnings of what God intended for you to put into your body. But listen, do me a favor, like us on Facebook, chat with us, engage with us. We want to hear from you too. So if you are on social media, just look us up, Friends and Neighbors on Facebook, like us with a little, thumbs up, and comment, let us know you're there. We'd love to hear from you. And again, it's always wonderful to have you here with us. Thank you for taking time to watch Friends and Neighbors. God bless you, and see you next time.